At least something good has to come out of this month of August. So I am a believer, and I hope that my belief is actually projected on you. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you for being with us as early as right about now. My name is Philomena, Mastiko, and as always, we are here to give you what you have been seeking for, what you have been looking for, and that is information. What is happening around you, what is happening in your community, what is happening in your society, all that we deliver every morning all the way from 6 a.m. and of course right here at Nile Avenue, just opposite the Parliament of Uganda, just in case you ever want to pass by and have a conversation with us. But I am not by myself, of course. I am with the two gentlemen and the beautiful lady. That is, of course, Mollen Kenyena, the weather prophetess. I call her that because she's on a rile, I must say. She's on a rile. Good morning, Mollen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena. I take that title. And of course, I want to say good morning to the gentlemen here. And you, our family, good morning, Uganda. Thank you very much for choosing to start the day with us. Well, when you call me a weather prophetess at this time, I feel like someone might blame me for not having warned them. But again, they would be wrong, because most of these forecasts actually did come out at the beginning of the season, indicating that the eastern part of the country will have much more rains, above normal, near normal rains compared to the rest of the country. And that also parts in with northern Uganda, northeastern. Like yesterday, the Uganda National Meteorological Authority still continues to give out more warnings and forecasts, indicating that August will still be picking up in terms of rains, especially for eastern parts of central as well as the northern sector. So I think that people need to start listening so much in this forecast, so that even authorities, once you look at any signs of cracks in an area that is close to you, likelihood of mudslides, you report it right away to the local authorities. There and then they would coordinate at least to make sure that the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness is aware of such things. And this is a time that when you have buildings that need to be secured, your house roofing is not secure, that's the time you reinforce your roofing right now, because we do know that most of these rains will continue across the area. So that is my advice. Make sure that you're able to secure the small stuff that can easily be swept away by wind, that can easily be swept away during a storm. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think this is about that time when you need to be very woke, when you need to be very alert, and also be very attentive to all the weather changes in your area, because as of course the warning came in from the meteorological authority. They did tell us what to expect of August. Do not say we didn't tell you, we did not warn you, okay? Please take heed of all these warnings. Speaking of warnings, Felix, good morning. I know we've had conversations about street children every now and then, but yesterday KCCA did actually start on operation to get these children back home. And according to the statistics, they were revealing that like about 80% of all these street children we see are coming from Napak, part of the Karamoja region. So could we say that maybe they listened to the warnings that came in from the society, the public, or it just became extreme?
Absolutely. Maybe before we get that, let me just say morning to you. Morning, Mollen, and Robert, the man himself, Uncle Bob. I'll tell you a story about Uncle Bob much later. But
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
What you did say is quite true, and it's become a nuisance until today. It's terribly ugly and very unsightly for some of us who ride on the Kampala beautiful streets.
Oh yes.
The unsightly visions of some of us, again, the parents. It's quite painful looking at these kids. You find kids dozing with their hands up. They're like all sorts of sceneries that happen on roads. You have mothers breastfeeding, the breast is there, the kid is jumping on it, is pulling it, and you know, it's so painful. And that's the story of like, we can't have that as the face of Kampala, which has most recently become the face of the city. Something on top of that that is very, I want to say, painful yet annoying, are the people, the sick people who use the roads now to live. It's so annoying yet painful. I have seen men, there's a Muslim man who's there, the lady is pulling her around, she's struggling to walk. When you go to Nyogogo,
I think it's also around Wandagea. I have seen that couple. Yes.
I don't know if it's a couple, but
my bad for making assumptions. It could be father,
it could be
daughter.
A very bad couple, and unfortunately they are dressed up in a Muslim attire. that makes it all worse.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a process of sympathy or what, but it's terribly not good. When you go to Lugogo, around the lights there near Katikati,
yes,
you notice that there are over 10 people who have been ridden in wheelchairs. Yesterday I saw a very old man, very sickly, looking terribly bad, but someone is riding them in the traffic trying to ask, I mean, what's this? This was supposed to be in hospital. And the question is, who's in charge of this city? I think something we must pick interest in, and
Yes.
normally as KCCA, when we hear the road mayor shouting over funny things, they are fighting over things with the councillors, I think this is something they should pick interest in.
there
So
are certain things they need to prioritize.
away
Yes.
from just talking about the vendors, I think we need to clean these streets, but also as we do it, let's give solutions. My sister talked about warnings earlier. A warning is as good as it can be, because when you want someone who has no alternative, it doesn't help. But if you're putting people off the streets, how do we rehabilitate them? Hospitals and availability of care. I think we need to discuss care, either elderly care or infant care for the people
Yes.
on these streets.
Well, just in case you don't know the numbers, about 260 children were retrieved from the streets yesterday, and the biggest percentage were in total opposition. They actually did not want to be taken back to their home areas, of course, citing, the hunger that is happening there and the poor standards of living. But of course, KCCA had to do what it had to do, citing that they do have resolutions. They also have, solid interventions that they have in plan for all these children and the mothers that are going to be taken back to their home areas. Well, Robert, good morning.
Good morning to you, and of course the lovely gentleman with specs and Lady Mollen.
Do you know what Robert has just done? Robert is playing for our play now. I will not give the story. Robert, good morning.
Good morning. That's sorted. Well, you guys, you've been talking about the plight of street kids, but one thing that comes to my mind,
Yes.
actually there's a friend of mine I'm going to miss. There's this young boy, I don't know, he's about 7, very cute, and whenever I'm on the Ginger Road traffic lights, I don't know how we somehow became friends. This boy will come to you, then, hey, Mzee Bonga, I always have something for him daily. So he had that family relationship, not so much, but just, but
he's in a better place, definitely.
Yes.
this is what happens. I've taken time to understand the problem of street children. Casey is doing a wrong thing.
Yes.
Because what happens is, when they have the budgets, they come and act, but they don't bring a permanent solution. They take these children off the streets, take them to a non-government organization called Drilling Places.
Yes.
They're kept there for 6 months as they try to find out where they came from. Then when they are leaving, they're given a mattress, I think, and a sack of posho to go back. The moment they get there, the father takes the mattress, the posho is sold. The kids go back and suffer. Then what happens? They once enjoyed Kampala. The people that buy them from their kids, from their parents, come back and pay for these kids because now this one has ever been on the street. Then they bring that child back to the streets. How do they do it? And worst, people don't know that most of the times these children walk long distances because it is now hard to bring them on a bus from a park. This is what they do. There's an older person who moves ahead of them. Then one in 13, 14 leads a pack of others.
Yes.
So for you, when you see them, you think they are going nearby. Yet they are trailing a very long distance.
Yes.
Have had an opportunity to speak to people handling these children. So the cycle just continues. Are you aware that at 50,000, a mother in Napak gives a child to come on the streets? So it's a trade. Instead of saying, why don't you go to the source? Investigate who these people are. Arrest the culprits that are making this a trade, because they know if you have about 50 children on the street and each one a day gets you 25,000, how much money is that? You need to work. Your job is to go and collect the money. So we must look at the root cause. Second, even a drilling place, they spend only 6 months. And as these children are leaving drilling place, they don't even want to leave. because they know where you're taking them. You've not organized. There is hunger, there is famine in Karamoja. After 6 months, you take these children with a sack of posho and then a mattress that a father is going to confiscate and sleep on. So I think we need to really look at this problem. Not saying we have a budget now, we get them off streets.
Yes.
How do you have either a permanent place for them?
The question is, how are we going to break the cycle?
Yes.
Because
Stop
it is
the
repetitive.
cycle. Have a permanent place for the people you have. Teach them other. It doesn't mean that you have to take them back to Karamoja.
I'll tell you what, I've seen something work somewhere else, and sometimes when it comes to social work, you must involve formated families. I think if they have these kids somewhere, some of the families are willing to adopt some of these kids. I know that as a matter of fact, because truth be told, government has failed over time to exhibit the capacity to be in charge of this. So how about the levy to us, the public, and maybe they can monitor with social workers. It's an option. There are families of people probably from Napak, Karamoja, or that region, even from any other part of who are good-hearted, who would want to absorb some of these kids. I will be glad, definitely. And many.
How is our social work system? Do we have that kind of system that leads to adoption? Because I do know that there are homes that actually do most of those adoptions, but again, the system is just so intense that it's very hard to get into. And I think Ugandans just want
the social structure system of Uganda could be a little bit sketchy.
But it could be sketchy, but it's in place. I know for a fact because I've handled issues of adoption, and I've seen these guys come, and from government, by the way, to check on kids, their welfare, and they have denied many people from carrying out adoptions and all these things.
Yes, very
so I know that it's there and it can work. As Robert normally says, it's about the existence of the will, that we must be able to gear up and fuel the will time and again.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
But also on a sad
when
note,
we're
you guys.
looking at the solutions in Uganda, you guys, there's a story I bumped on this morning. Now, there is a border man from Butambala who decided to set fire on himself because, he was protesting the whole fuel price increase. Now, news coming in is that this guy actually was talking about it with his colleagues, saying, you know what, if these prices don't go down, I'm just going to do something to myself. So he tied himself on a border and set it on fire. That is how Ugandans are giving up.
Talking about
it's very sad.
Really,
it's
really,
very sad.
But also,
really
Mollen, just last month we lost 230 people in accidents.
Yes.
The weather is bad, guys. Some accidents are caused because of bad weather. So these cruisers here and there, be very careful.
Very, very careful. And again, according to the police traffic directorate, they were saying that the discipline on the roads has deteriorated at a very fast rate. And they're saying it's continuing to do that. And I don't know if I'm to question, because they're also questioning now, what is the solution? What do we do? Because we're seeing a surge in the number of accidents. We're losing more people as the months go by. So what do we do? How do we get into this? But again, this trickles down to the individual basis. You as a person, you as a road user, how is your discipline on the road? And we'll keep talking about it, and we'll keep reminding you, just maybe, in a little way, where we'll put you in your place, probably also to remind you that, really? It is your life. Yes. But I think sometimes we need rude awakenings, because we cannot keep losing people every single time.
The truth of the matter is that we have the wrong roads on Uganda's roads.
I think everyone has
the wrong people.
Yes.
No, we just have
on Uganda.
You're the only sober person on the road if you want to be safe, and it's you to save others. Me, when I'm driving, that's one thing I must.
The people are driving these big
I'm
cars.
the only person.
They bully the people with small cars.
Oh, but have you seen how people with small cars also misbehave on the road, because they feel like
there is too much road rage. Everybody wants to stop.
Everyone is a VIP with sirens.
Anyway, there is quite a lot of craziness happening in the country right now, and like I said yesterday, we need to stay grounded for this month of August. We need to have that self-discipline. We have to have, that admirable reliability as well, to make sure that we do things the right way, okay, without any pretense, but out of a genuine will. A lot of stories rolling in and rolling out of the country, but of course, as always, we are here to make sure that we just issue into some of the stories that you could have missed yesterday on our news desk, locally and globally.
And we'll start off with the floods in Mbale, where floods have claimed lives and destroyed property worth millions of shillings in Mbale district a few days after conservation warning by President Museveni. While at the Inter-Ministerial Conference in Kampala last week, President Museveni echoed the need for concerted efforts in fighting against climate change. On Sunday, several people were reported dead following Saturday night heavy downpour that washed away several structures and property and also killed over 10 people in Mbale. The floods said to have been caused after 3 rivers of Nabuyonga, Namatisi and Namatala burst their banks and submerged, causing overflow. In his last address to the country last week, President Museveni warned against likely effects on human action on the environment. His message on environment and climate change was re-echoed during the 3-day Interministerial Conference on Mitigation, Environment and Climate Change in Nyonyintono. While officiating at the Interministerial Conference, President Museveni called for collaborative efforts in averting effects of climate change and other natural disasters. Just a few days after his message on conservation and climate change, the Elgon region experienced a catastrophe that left many dead and property worth millions destroyed. Areas around Mountain Elgon have experienced several effects of climate change and are still prone to experience the worst if conservation is prolonged. In 2010, over 3,000 people were displaced and hundreds killed in the heavy landslides that hit mainly the district of Bududa. In 2012, a similar incident happened in Bubwa, Lukani, and later in Sironko district in 2017.
Well, also, still in local news, the Uganda Coalition Forces of Change, a rebel group, has intensified its operations against the attacks on government officials and security personnel. Now, police has revealed this group dropped threatening leaflets in districts of Kenyena, Chiboga for near future attacks. Now, this rebel group was pronounced by police towards the end of last year, 2021, and the pronouncement of the Coalition Forces of Change in Uganda by police was manifested by the increasing attacks on security personnel and gun theft of the time. By the end of last year, this group had stolen 5 guns from police officers while killing some. In that time, over 20 people were arrested in connection with rebel activities, and in the night of 31st of July 2022, this group dropped threatening leaflets targeting government officials and security. Now, the recurring attacks on police officers while on duty is connected to rebel remnants who want to acquire guns for their subversive intentions in the same way.
And we now move to the tourism sector, where the tourism sector is registering steady influx of tourists from across the globe. However, Lily Ajavaro, the Chief Executive Officer, Uganda Tourism Board, says most of the tourists who are coming in are those who had booked for safari in 2020. This therefore means that the sector players are yet to get significant revenue that can get their business back on track. Uganda's tourism industry is on a revival path. This follows the full reopening of the economy after close to 2.5 years of full and partial lockdown. According to Ajavaro, the description has been brought about by the situation in the country now, where they believe that we are having low COVID infections. Although the country is recording a monthly increase of foreign tourists, the numbers fortunately do not meet to what they expected to get. However, the tourism board says that most of the tourists traveling need to be assured that Uganda is a safe country and COVID-19 is well contained in the country.
Well, of course, now turning into politics, the FDC has decided to contest the results from the just concluded Soroti East by-elections in court. During the weekly press briefing at the FDC headquarters, Najana Nkumbi, the deputy spokesperson, John Chikonyogo, told the media that they were collecting information and evaluating it with a view of going to court. However, the Electoral Commission spokesperson, Paul Bukenya, insisted the election was free and fair and all complaints of electoral irregularities were addressed on the polling day.
Away from home, the U.S. has killed the leader of Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri, in a drone strike in Afghanistan, President Joe Biden confirmed. He was killed in a counter-terrorism operation carried out by the CIA in the Afghan capital of Kabul on Sunday. Mr. Biden said Zawahiri had carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens. Now justice has been delivered and this terrorist leader is no more, he added. Officials said Zawahiri was on the balcony of a safe house when the drone fired 2 missiles at him. Other family members were present, but they were unharmed and only Zawahiri was killed. Mr. Biden said he had given the final approval for the precision strike on the 71-year-old Al-Qaeda leader after months of planning. Zawahiri took over Al-Qaeda after the death of Osama bin Laden back in 2011. He and bin Laden plotted the 9/11 attacks together, and he was one of the U.S.'s most wanted terrorists. His killing will bring closure to families of the victims of the 2001 attacks, according to what was said by Mr. Biden. Crossing over to China, the country says its military will never sit idly by if a U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi were to visit Taiwan, the self-ruled island claimed by Beijing. In Beijing, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian reiterated earlier warnings on Monday, saying there will be serious consequences if she insists on making the visit. He did not spell out any specific consequences. We are fully prepared for any eventuality, he said. The People's Liberation Army will never sit by idly. China will take strong and resolute measures to safeguard its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Now, the PLA ships have been stationed close to the median line in the Taiwan Strait, which separates China and Taiwan, since Monday, and several military jets flew close to the line on Tuesday morning. Reuters news agency reported citing unnamed sources. Taiwan, however, had dispatched aircraft to monitor the situation. China has been steadily ratcheting up diplomatic and military pressure on the self-ruled democracy since President Tsai Ing-wen was first elected back in 2016. But threats of retaliation over a visit by Pelosi have driven concerns of deepening crisis amid continued tension between Beijing and Washington, which has formal diplomatic relations with China, but is required by law to provide Taiwan with the means to defend itself.
Now back in Africa, shame over nation, that is in South Africa, where more than 80 people have been arrested following a gang rape of 8 South African women appeared before court on Monday as the police minister described the assault as the shame of the nation. A gang of gunmen forced their way into a music video shoot near a mine dump in Rujadop, a small town west of Johannesburg, on Thursday. 8 young women from the cast were raped in an incident that shocked the country, which has one of the highest criminal rates in the world. Now, what happened in Rugadop is just a shame of the nation, Police Minister Becky Kelly told a press briefing on Monday, adding that some of the victims would suffer long-term consequences. Now, some of those distractions are permanent with those kids. The gang attacked the crew and cast while they were offloading equipment and preparing the set, according to police. Police has blamed illegal immigrants working in the mines known locally as the Zamazama and arrested 84 during a swap in the area. 2 more suspects were killed in a shootout with police and a third was wounded and taken to a local hospital, police said. And in the weather and climate news, the Kentucky floods, at least 37 people have now died in flash floods in eastern Kentucky as the region braces itself for more rainfall. At least six children, including 4 siblings, one aged 1 up to 8, were reportedly swept from their parents' group, and among others that were also dead from these floods. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said the death toll would continue to rise as hundreds remained unaccounted for. Now, more than 12,000 households remained without power and hundreds of homes and businesses have been flooded. Now, the damage to the roads, bridges and other infrastructure will cost millions to repair, the governor said on Monday. Mr. Bashir, who toured some of the hardest hit neighborhoods over the weekend, said he has seen houses swept away and schools ruined. However, this is the worst flash flooding in the region that has been seen in decades. Mr. Bashir called the deluge the deadliest and the most devastating of his lifetime, adding that if things weren't hard enough on the people in the region, they were getting rain right now.
Well, it's very, very sad and very mortifying, especially about the incidents that happened over there in South Africa. Again, humans keep, they just keep outdoing themselves when it comes to treating fellow humans. Why would somebody do that? Anyway, I hope that they are brought to justice, full and effective justice. But also, Roberts, when it comes to our health, what message do you have for us this morning?
Well, sharing is caring. And this morning I want Felix to tell you about the gift I've just given him.
Wow.
There's not going to be any story me to tell about Bob, as I had said earlier, because he's successfully been able to break the chain of that story by giving me hallelujah tamarind fruit drink.
Was this a way of bribing you not to tell us the story?
I'm looking at it this way.
I am starting to question this. I am starting to question this.
Forward to that story.
So was I.
But I think you may have to counter that with something better than the hallelujah tamarind fruit drink, which does come with loads of benefits. And if I may just take you through some of them, for some of you who love, as we normally call it, the opaque bottle, and you have issues in the morning, this will do you great wonders. But on top of that, it has very quite important ingredients, and those do include potable water, tamarind pulps, ginger, sucrose, acidity regulators, and of course very less in preservatives. Now this will definitely give you a change in how your game does come on.
Well said, brother. Now the only thing you need to do is just at 1,500, go and get yourself hallelujah tamarind or hallelujah ginger tea. Those are like sweet things. Oh, this darling will do you good, and above all, they boost your immune system. We need you alive and healthy.
A darling, indeed.
Darling it is.
Well, we're going in for the inspiration song this Tuesday morning. When we get back, we will be headed to the panel, to the discussion, to talk about all these extreme weather and climate changes we are seeing. And of course, here in Uganda, clearly it is starting off on a bad note, seeing our counterparts in Bale really feeling the effect of all these extreme weather events. And of course, we'll be joined, luckily, by an official from Uganda National Meteorological Authority, who will be giving us some of the insights, from the technical point of view, what's happening, what's the plan, what has been done, what hasn't been done. All these questions we'll be having answers in the next hour. We'll be back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
I've been walking with my face turned to the sun. Weight on my shoulders, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I have to run. I do what I can when I can, while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fill the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. Far across the river, can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on.
Well, it is the second day of the month of August 2022. Now, I repeat this, the month of August is upon us and clearly did not start on a very good note, especially now that we're looking at extreme weather climate changes. We're seeing weather changes that are really drawing us into quite a worried state. But again, I believe that there is a lot again that is yet to happen for us. At least something good has to come out of this month of August. So I am a believer, and I hope that my belief is actually projected on you. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you for being with us as early as right about now. My name is Philomena, Mastiko, and as always, we are here to give you what you have been seeking for, what you have been looking for, and that is information. What is happening around you, what is happening in your community, what is happening in your society, all that we deliver every morning all the way from 6 a.m. and of course right here at Nile Avenue, just opposite the Parliament of Uganda, just in case you ever want to pass by and have a conversation with us. But I am not by myself, of course. I am with the two gentlemen and the beautiful lady. That is, of course, Mollen Kenyena, the weather prophetess. I call her that because she's on a rile, I must say. She's on a rile. Good morning, Mollen.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Philomena. I take that title. And of course, I want to say good morning to the gentlemen here and you, our family. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you very much for choosing to start the day with us. Well, when you call me a weather prophetess at this time, I feel like someone might blame me for not having warned them. But again, they would be wrong because most of these forecasts actually did come out at the beginning of the season, indicating that the eastern part of the country will have much more rains, above normal, near normal rains compared to the rest of the country. And that also parts in with northern Uganda, northeastern. Now, yesterday, the Uganda National Meteorological Authority still continues to give out more warnings and forecasts, indicating that August will still be picking up in terms of rains, especially for eastern parts of central as well as the northern sector. So I think that people need to start listening so much in this forecast, so that even the authorities, once you look at any signs of cracks in an area that is close to you, likelihood of mudslides, you report it right away to the local authorities.
Live from UBC Studios, Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by.
Simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV. Love it.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using to Gabonais. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Corporate Games Season 2022-2023 is here. Don't miss lots of fun and networking. 12 sports disciplines and over 2,000 participants with over 40 corporate companies in one place. This happens every first Sunday of every month. For more information, contact info@corporategamesug.com or visit our website www.corporategamesug.com, or you can call us on 0700 339 048 or 0785 642 953. Don't miss on Sunday, 7th August of 2022 at Chambogo University. The Corporate Games, inspiring corporates through sports.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda, once again, and thank you for being with us for the Newsreel segment. My name is Philomena Mastiko, and of course, I am with the usuals, Robert Kirabo and Felix Nkonda. But this morning, we do have quite a special guest who will be telling us exactly what is happening in Mbale. Now, if you have been following the news closely, as of yesterday, the numbers of the people who had lost their lives to the flash floods that happened in Mbale has risen to 20, and of course there's been a lot of warnings that have been coming in. There is a lot of plans that government is also putting in place to make sure that the situation is actually brought to peace, or at least we try to make it slightly better than it is. But before we get into all that, also reminding you of our poll question which is running on our social media, and that is, how best can we safeguard Ugandans in the face of all the floods and the mudslides that are happening? And of course, all this is because we know, at least from the scientific point of view, we've heard that climate change has quite a part to play in all this. But this morning, we are joined by Mr. Nabende Wamoto, a retired resident district commissioner, who will be telling us exactly the situation. How is it looking like in Mbale? Good morning, son. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Mami, Mastiko, Kirabo, and all the others, including Rauke.
Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. But if we are to go straight to the point, could you give us a picture of what exactly Mbale is looking like right now? What is the situation?
The situation is very, very threatening. The clouds are threatening to open up again. There is a lot of rain around Wanale Hill. Mount Elgon is very cloudy, and we fear that there is going to be another downpour as we speak now. And therefore this causes a lot of alarm again. And remember that the exercise of looking for the lost persons is still going on. The government is meant to look for the lost people and also retrieve the bodies of those who could have passed on. So that is the situation now as we speak. And for the good of the viewers of UBC television, we thank the whole country for their prayers. but they have to continue to pray to God that the clouds may not continue, because it may be worse if it continues.
Okay.
Maybe also help us understand what could have been the causes or the cause of this situation, because you've lived in this area since childhood. You've been a leader in this part of the country. Why now and never before?
Number one is that the factors of the past have changed and continue to change. Population is expanding every minute, but the land mass stops as it was. It stays as it was. Now, many people have complained that we have invaded the original areas, ecosystems. That is another factor. But also, you may wish to know, and the viewers may wish to be reminded, that this time we are not talking about the initial landslides that we have been talking about in Bududa, Namisindwa, Sironko, Bulambuli, and parts of Apambare. Remember now, it is happening in the city. And the viewers must be told that it is no longer the indiscipline of the inhabitants of this region cutting down trees and invading the former ecosystems. This time it is in town. This time it is the Tamaka roads. This time they are the bridges. Now, why? To answer your question so fast, because I know the state is listening. It is wrong construction, especially of the roads. The roads are very clean. Government and the president have made wonderful roads, but these roads are too narrow, and these roads don't have drainage. So when the waters gather, they explode into lakes or no tarmac. They break down the bridges. Remember, all the people who have been affected in Mbale district where I live, because I live on the boundary with Mastiko. Now, people who were affected were swept off from the roads, Tamaka roads, and the bridges were washed away. So they swam in the city. So this is the new normal. The new normal. It is not the old Buddha story. So when you are approaching the discussion of today, these are the new factors. But what does the government do? I think that is the next question you want to ask me.
Yes.
Let me now. We have talked many times. We have talked on UBC, and by the way, I want to thank UBC, but also thank the taxpayers who facilitate and sustain your existence. You have done a good job. What has not been done is the state, the pledges, the promises that have never been, what word can I use there?
Implemented?
A diplomatic word, because I don't want to offend the president. He is listening, he's watching. We have done a lot of promises. When you asked me, and it was a good question, I have been a leader in this region. I was also born here. And by the way, Reuben knows that I am born in Bududa district, this troubled district that many people talk about. Now, while I was working as resident district commissioner in Bulambuli district, in the year 2012, the president found out after I had given him a brief, because I lost people in landslides in North Brambody. And I want to mention you, Mastiko. There is a family of my friend, of the late Louis Mastiko. The whole of it was wiped out on one day. 12 people. 12 people. The president sent the coffins, and I'm the one who placed those bodies in the coffins. I even asked why he appointed me a resident district commissioner. I should have remained in the Ministry of Defense, but because I was peaceful there. And yes, in the Ministry of Defense we also see bodies, but I was not the one to count the bodies and report back to Kampala that a family of 12 people, a family of 12 people died in one day and were buried on the same day. So the president established what we call a fact-finding team. I wanted the country to see this. The president appointed General Moses Ali to lead a fact-finding team to identify the factors that you wanted me to give you an answer. General Moses Ali found all these answers. Now, General Moses Ali, I don't know why he is silent. History is going to accuse you, General Moses Ali, because you still have that report. I'm not sure whether you shared it with the appointing authority. We arrived because I was part of this team, and I was lucky because I was in charge of Brambody, but I also was very close to the division commander at that time, General Burundi Nyonyintono. He supported me so much, and I put in a lot contributing to that report. This is what happened. Mastiko, Kirabo, and the country. We had 3 plans, and I want you to note this, while the viewers are also noting them down. Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. Now, Plan A was urbanized centers. That is actually what took the opinions and the views of the big population in this region. And when we talk about the Elgon region, we are talking about Sebei, 3 districts, and Bugisu, 6 districts, and one with one city now. Now, at that time, we were only 8 districts in Bugisu together with Sebei. Plan A, as I said, they recommended urbanized centers, shifting people in all the risky places, in Mount Elgon region, to urbanized centers. For example, you know of these town boards the government had wanted to turn them into habitation centers for people to be relocated from risky places to those centers in the same region, because the people insisted that they do not want to be taken very far, like the first team which was taken to Kiriandongo from Ududa, because they were not coping well with the conditions there. Plan B, compensation for people to relocate themselves. Sign memorandums of understanding with government that they are no longer going to lay claim to the land in the risky places. What have I said? I've said Plan B was compensation by the government to victims in risky areas to be shifted, to shift on their own accord. I could have asked Mastiko to get me land where she comes from. I buy land there, government gives me this money, I sign a memorandum of understanding with the government that I have no claim on the land where I originally lived. Plan C, buy land, build houses, relocate the people. That was Plan C. And we said it was not practical. I wanted to say that again. We said that Plan C was not practical. I want to mention this, and I know the country is listening. Now, the predators, the officers in government, you saw that in plan A and B, they would not get any money there. They shifted plan C and put it at plan A because they wanted to buy land. They also wanted to hide in building houses. They wanted to hide in transporting the victims. They wanted to hide in building all the other infrastructure for the purposes of those people whom they were intending to shift. And they made a lot of money. Now, if it was plan A, by now Uganda and especially Mount Elgon region would be a city, almost a city of itself.
So, Mr. Wamoto, if I may just break you short, can we say that all these plans were not executed 100%?
No. Let me give you this example. In 7 years, the last landslides in Bugisu, serious landslides, happened 6 years ago. And I have discussed this with UPC radios and the television. Now, when they bought land in Bunambukie, in Bulambuli district, because they wanted to make a big deal. And by the way, not only the local leaders, they also have their coordinators, and they also have their cooperators in Kampala. I don't know whether the president knows this, but to answer your question quickly, they have up to now built 200 houses. 200 houses in 6 years. And remember, let me mention this to you, Mastiko. All the risky homesteads in Sebei and Bugishu, at the time General Moses Ali was in this region, were 100,000 households. To transfer those households, I want to say this, not to amuse the country, but I want to say this for the country to sympathize with Mount Elgon region citizens of Uganda. To transfer 100,000 homesteads, if the factors were constant as they were in the year 2012, at the rate of 200 houses in 6 years, we need 2 centuries.
Well, retired RDC.
Yes, sir.
Now, you've already talked about the issue of Bududa, and we know also in the upper belt of Kapchora, we lost about 3 people. But coming back to this particular incident, which you said is new, because now this is in the city, what can or what should government do?
The government, one, should put a lot of force, a lot, and I say this many times, because the president also pledged it in his campaign message in 2020-2021. He said he was going to harshly deal with corrupt officers of government. The new normal in Mbale City, Mbale District, Sirongo and other places is not really new as I'm putting it, but the factors in the city are the one which are newest. To answer your question, Kirabo is this. Corruption. The president has got to put a hammer hand on those officers. And by the way, General Moses Ali should bring out the other report and present it to the president now that there is this new normal, so that we can use it to help the people of Mount Elgon from this danger.
So, Mr. Wamoto, just to get a bit of clarity in relation to our topic, and as we try to find solutions henceforth to this situation, because as you did say, the rains are still threatening, the clouds are quite happy to rain. What's the way forward in the intermediate not to procrastinate because the report may not come as soon as we want. What's not being done actually has not been done. Right now, what do we do? The country is listening. What's our role as media, as Ugandans, but also later on as government? What do we do in the immediate to save the situation?
To save the situation today as we speak, Kirabo, if I'm sure you are Kirabo, I know your voice.
That is Felix.
I don't know whether I'm mistaken.
No, the gentleman is called Felix.
Oh, but is Kirabo there also?
Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, sorry, Kirabo, for mixing up your voices. Now, what we can do now is to find places where we can put the most desperate persons who now have no homes.
Yeah.
Those who lost homes must have places, churches, tents to keep them there so that they do not perish in the cold and also perish in the floods. So that is factor number one, accommodation, habitation. Secondly, they will need sanitation facilities because you know Mbale now has no clean water because of these floods. And the government must factor that in their strategy at this time. They will need food. There is no food. Kirabo, Mastiko, Felix, let me tell you, all the groups. And remember, in the sub-county where I live is called Bumbo sub-county. Bumbo sub-county is the food basket of most of the lower Mbale district. But if we grow our food on the banks of the rivers, maybe we are the cause of the problem. All the crops, including mine, have been swept away. So I would also need food. Actually, I'm in my house, but the government must bring me food because my food has been swept away.
But you are right.
You're dug on the river bank.
It's part of the problem, but now we're looking at the intermediate
problem.
Yeah, I think I'm the problem, but don't crucify me now. For now, I need your sympathy. For now, the people need your sympathy.
Absolutely.
So the other quick action, the government, the president, who is always the darling of the people of Mount Elgon region. He is a loved man. Let him come, because when he comes, most of these problems will be sorted away. We call him a problem solver. The other people delay. We shall also tell him, and if I have opportunity, I have my copy of Moses' early report. I will smuggle it and give it to him. And tell him this is where they misled you. But I wanted Felix, Robert, and Mastiko, and Ruben, who is in the Hindi area there, to see this. Of course, now the big population of Mbale City, Mbale District, parts of Bududa, Sirongo, Kulambula, and other places, there are many. And remember, the schools are still open.
Yes.
So that is why we said we shall need the church people, the Muslim mosques, to assist us to have places where we can temporarily keep our people, because the schools can now not host these victims because the children are still going to school. The school calendar is still on until next week. So we shall need to request the homes of people which are safer, church buildings, mosques, to allow the people to go there, but the government should deliver the relief. Deliver the relief, because the Prime Minister was here about 3 days ago. 2 days ago, I think. She was en route, Kumi, and she passed via. The food, if it has arrived, they haven't distributed it yet, and they have to do this today, because people have no food at all. Is there any other question you want to ask me on that?
Well, absolutely not any. But thank you so much, Mr. Wamoto, for the insights and, giving us a sense of what is happening in Mbale. And we continue, by the way, to empathize with our brothers and sisters over there. We hope that government can actually come in and as we are trying to look at the short term, but we are also coming up with solutions for the long term. Thank you so much for sparing some time for us this morning.
Thank you. I wish you well, all of you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And remember that the discussion is actually still going on to our socials. We do ask you to come in and tell us what you think can actually be done to, safeguard the population from all these floods and mudslides that we are seeing and we are yet to see. Any parting shots, Felix and Robert?
Well, for me, like he said, we must deal with corruption. Because when you look at floods in the city, he rightly said people are constructing because they're bribing. People are constructing roads that don't have drainage system. Yet when you look at the plans of these roads, that is there. So this is how far corruption has brought us.
Yes.
We must fight corruption.
Felix.
But I wouldn't even want to take a shot against corruption this time in particular. I just want to take a shot against government. That as an institution that is charged under a social contract to lead this country, to protect, to serve, and also probably to envisage any challenges that come to the people with whom you are in a social contract. It is your duty. You can't talk about things like corruption in the absence of standards.
Yes.
I think when you're discussing things like road construction, there must be a given standard by the relevant authorities, the likes of UNRA, just to mention but a few, that if there be a road constructed, these are the standards. So we don't construct the road, or if we are to, let us have standards. We can't be discussing about absence of drainage. I think that should be what we call...
It goes without saying. It's part of the...
But you see, Felix, the standards show that the drainage system is there.
No.
Let me tell you, because I remember there was one road they were investigating. Even culverts had to be there. But when it came to Parliament, it was different.
It's what I'm saying, that
the standards are set,
I don't blame
but
that on
implementation.
corruption. I blame that on entirely the government, that it doesn't have standards. When you have standards, you can't simply say, I want to be a father of 7 kids, and yet you don't have a woman. So are you going to have kids in banana plantations or cassava fiber? So if you want to discuss issues of roads and standards, you must have the relevant implementation and enforcement to make sure that happens. So that means that the government institutions, some of them as good as useless, if they can't give us good quality or what we call good fit for purpose production. So I think for me the issue goes back to government. This whole hullabaloo of corruption may not be qualified. Government must clean its house in terms of some of these executions.
Well, there you go. The biggest stakeholder, of course, in this situation is government, and there is clearly a lot of I's that it has to dot, a lot of T's that it has to cross. Well, we are yet to see what's happening for our brothers and sisters in Mbale, and we hope that the situation can be stabilized both in the short term and in the long term. We're going in for the papers to see what's making the headlines. Good morning, Uganda.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Enjoy more GBs for the same price on Airtel. Kirabo using to Gabonais. We have increased GBs across all your favorite packs. Now, 4 GB is at 10,000 shillings and 10.5 GB at 22,500 shillings, all valid for a week. For the heavy data users, enjoy 24 GB at 50,000 shillings and 50 GB at 100,000 shillings, all valid for a month. Dial *175# or use the My Airtel app to buy these and more affordable weekly and monthly data bundles on Airtel, the smartphone network.
A World Cup in the desert? The first one in the Middle East. The first to be held at the end of the year? That's crazy. Get ready for spectacular moves, high-flying saves, unbelievable goals, out-of-this-world celebrations.
Would you believe it? What a moment here!
All 64 matches live. That's over 5,000 action-packed minutes of the FIFA 2022 World Cup Qatar. Now that's crazy. Catch all the action only on SuperSport, your world of champions. On Go TV. Love it.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to the Good Morning Press Review. We're looking at the papers this morning. We start over the Daily Monitor, the big story inside new Besigye Bobby political deal. And of course, this is our way forward. 4 opposition political parties announced that they will going forward jointly or severally use any upcoming elections to organize and rally Ugandans to defend their democratic rights in the face of election madness. Still in more news, looking at the calamities that befell Mbale floods, death toll rises to 23, and again more rain still coming. Quite the weather wrath that they're facing over there, and they're showing you a picture about some residents trying to pull out a taxi that was taken by the floods out of it and trying to rescue whoever could be found alive in it. Still in other stories, Otafury comes under fire over performance. Church bans politicians from its functions, and we're still looking at swimmer Mbaga wants to qualify for Olympics at 15. Now this is a rainbow pullout for your children this morning. And onto the second page, still a more detailed story on the floods in Mbale and how the death toll is actually rising with every minute that goes by. Today in history, Amin maintains a republic state. The year was 1971. Also in history, Iraq invades Kuwait. The year was 1990. Where were you then? Well, get yourself a copy and see more of these stories.
Now crossing over to the New Vision right there, they give you opposition unveils a joint strategy. Now, of course, that is a detailed story on page 9 of the New Vision Full this morning. Government sets loan limits for public servants. Also details are on the 3rd page of the New Vision. Now, the big headline right there, floods as 26 are now dead and over 900 displaced. Of course, Bugisu MPs want government to set up evacuation camps. The details are on page 6, 7 and 8 of the New Vision. Also, they give you some of the pictures of the victims right there from the floods, and also a picture of some of the residents trying to pull out Toyota Super Custom, in which 10 of the bodies were found over there. But also in the New Vision, tax on Tanzanian rice has dropped. That is on page 9 of the New Vision, and districts with high HIV rates. The story is on page 4 of the New Vision. Now crossing over to the 2nd page, the handover of office. They give you right there the outgoing State Minister for Economic Monitoring receiving a gift from Haji Yunus Kakandi right there. Very interesting picture. Now, opportunities as IALA tips on legislation for business opportunities. That is also right there for you on the second page of the New Vision. But also today in history, that is back in 1998, Mosisi returns with a hat-trick. That is, of course, Uganda's prodigal son, Majid Mosisi, as he returned from, international football. But also back then in 1996, the OAU calls for peace. More for you to read in the paper.
The Daily Monitor Sports section, netball, of course, no bed of roses for She Cranes in Birmingham. And they're also giving you a lineup of the Group B standings, looking at several of the teams, and Uganda holding in on the third position. Chibira can stop opponent. This is what his coach believes, and he has been tipped to shine. Again, still in more stories coming in from the Commonwealth Games, and for those of you who love boxing, now Pool League are struggling to pay umpires. Quite disturbing. Again, another story you could catch up this morning. And Astros Colts need a lifeline. Switching up to the World Championships, Kiplimo goes for 10K gold, and he has set out to retain the 10,000 meters gold for Uganda when he runs today. Again, quite a race Ugandans are looking forward to later on today.
Well, still the same story in the New Vision. Of course, a lot of expectations from Jacob Kiplimo as he takes on the race for today. Now, there is a need for him to bring that medal again, like we saw him produce a masterful final lap in the men's 10,000 meter final. And of course, that is expected of him today. We're saying bring on the medal. That is in the New Vision for today. But also the She Cranes in a huge fight against England. And of course, talking about their fight, especially when it comes to having maybe defeating Trinidad and Tobago for today, and of course that could make their first win. Details in the New Vision for today, and inside also talking about the chess Olympiad. That is in the New Vision Sport for today.
Well, grab yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor and the New Vision, looking at the Daily Nation journey through Kenya with 6 days to the elections. President Raila, a question that is being posed for you to, ponder upon. It's now or never time for them to prove themselves. Jomo versus Jaramogi and Uhuru versus Raila. I'm telling you that the heat is really up over there in Kenya, and other African countries are also on the lookout to see what happens. 70 years of dedication to women. Again, another article that you need to look into this Daily Nation. So grab yourself a copy to catch up on that and many, many more stories. But also to take you to the poll question this morning, where we do ask what can be done to safeguard the population in the face of floods and landslides in Uganda. What can be done to safeguard the population in the face of floods and landslides in Uganda? Well, Aaron Ainebiona, you're saying the government is unserious about the environment and flooding, especially these that happen in areas of lower altitudes, and it's very evident. So we are trying to evade the wetlands, which could be quite a solution. Thank you so much, Aaron. Dr. Nwajira, you're saying simple. People should just leave the whole bit of invading the wetlands, and government should also increase rules and penalties on those that are found guilty of doing this. Well, the discussion is still going on our socials, #UBCGMU. Let us know what you think, and we'll be seeing all these thoughts and opinions as Good Morning Uganda goes on. But for now, also, it's very crucial that you know the situation on the roads, especially in areas coming in from Chisasi. If you're coming in from Chebando, Mulago, Chisasi, rather Bukoto and Kamocha, Mawanda Road, of course, as you're headed to the city center. Bits and bits of some of these roads are actually starting to build up with some heavy traffic. So again, it's something you need to be very wary of. But starting off from Chisasi, several parts on this road actually do have some traffic that is continuously building up, and that is, of course, if you're coming in from Waligo Road and you join through Bahai Road. Bahai Road, for the most part of it, it's quite a clear one, so it should be a smooth ride for you all the way, of course, as you're headed towards Bukoto Chisasi Road. Now, Bukoto Chisasi Road is also a bit a smooth ride for for the cyclists and the motorcyclists and even you know, all the other road users, although traffic is building up from some parts on this road here and there. Now this is quite a busy road, usually from Monday to Friday, but it could be a different story for this morning. But again, it's quite very dynamic. The traffic always changes every minute, so you need to be very careful. When it comes to Chisota Road, which is also usually a very busy road for the most part of the week, I could say that today is a different story, dominated by green. It should be a very smooth ride for you this morning if it's usually a road that you use to get to the city center. As you're headed all the way and getting to Chira Road has a different story to tell because we are seeing traffic in several spots on this road. The reds and oranges clearly show you that there is something that is building up there, and of course in terms of traffic, so you need to expect those traffic hiccups, of course, and as you're headed, of course, towards the city center. If you're coming in from all these areas, it's quite important that you take note of that. But again, just as a warning, seeing as that we are getting into a season of rains, you need to be very careful on the road. Road discipline, again, is something that we keep encouraging every now and then. Whether it's a rainy day, whether it's a hot day, you just need to be disciplined. But we know that in most cases, when it rains, the roads become very slippery and the accidents are prone to happen. So please and please, again, be very careful. We don't want statistics going up, as we have seen reported by the Traffic Directorate of Police in the weekly police briefing. That's it from the traffic updates this morning. Now officially getting you to Mollen to tell us what's happening, the floods, the weather. Mollen, I did see a statement that came out from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority saying that, well, the rains are still coming in, so we need to brace ourselves. What's the plan?
Well, it looks like the forecast for August also coming in from Kenyena is actually indicating that we could be having more of those rains, especially for northern Uganda and mostly the eastern side. So this is a time that, again, we continue to, you know, tell people, take these advisories that have been attached to you know, Kenyena giving out, saying reinforce your roofings, you know, get out of the way should you see that, you know, there is a likelihood of flooding, and of course report any, you know, signs of landslides. For example, if you're seeing cracks on some of those areas, please do report it to local authorities, because some of these events continue to happen, especially now that we keep talking about climate change, Philomena. These are some of the extreme weather events that could be expected. And of course, we're not the only country dealing with it. So we are just urging people to take weather seriously, take these warnings seriously. And of course, that means that, you remember, August actually ushers us into September, where we have a second major rainy season across the country. So the rest of the country will be picking up from that as we head into September.
So it's high time for you to be very alert, and please let the authoritarians know. Tell them what you see. Be very observative. Do not leave this to only the authorities, because at the end of the day, it gets down to the local person. So we are yet to experience these and more. That's it from the traffic updates. I now leave you to Mollen to give you more coming in from the weather and climate sphere. Good morning.
Well, I'll also take it from there, and of course still talking about the Mbale flood. What we do know so far is that the death toll has risen to 26. That is from the floods in Mbale and of course the mudslide in Kapchorwa. Now we do know that this area has been known to be mostly you know, hit by some of these heavy rains. That is the Elgon region. However, it is the first time in a lot of decades that we're seeing this extent. 3 rivers bursting their banks. I think the first time that we have seen this event ever since industrial level, and of course that goes to show you how much the frequency and the intensity of some of these floods will be coming through. And of course, if we have a heavy downpour that is triggering, you know, 3 rivers to burst their banks, that is the extent of how far we've gone with extreme weather events. And of course, the Elgon region has also been worst hit. We talk about areas of Bududa that have had a history of having most of those floods. The deadly one was in 2010, and I think ever since then we haven't seen an extreme that big across eastern region. So that goes to show you As time goes on, as we continue to tamper with the environment, as we continue to encroach on nature, that is what we get. Those are some of the extremes that we continue to see. But again, if you look at the rivers bursting their banks, it means that we are also not taking care of the natural streams, the natural lines of of these rivers streaming down, and of course that is going to get us in trouble. So just any rain at that level could easily, get the banks to burst, and of course that adds to the already existing rains. That is how we are seeing people in Mbale perishing. And of course what we do know so far from local authorities, and from just this morning getting a report on ground from the former RDC, is that people are still in fear that this could happen as most of the rains continue over the area. And of course we do know that rescue operations are still going on, so that means that we could be looking at a situation where government has to come in and of course help the people, resettle them, and of course with the relief as well being provided towards the area, but also make sure that people understand the kind of weather conditions going over there, and of course are able to cope with the changing environment, especially in this day and age where we're talking about climate variations. Most of these weather extremes are going to be coming through. We only have to get prepared on how to deal with them. Now that is just not just happening in Uganda. We're also following up on a story in the floods in Kentucky, and so far what we do know is that the death toll has also risen to 36, and that is also taking a toll on a lot of people across Kentucky. What we do know is that most of the areas have been swept away, local villages, that is the eastern part of Kentucky, and those were also as a result of a heavy downpour that started through Saturday and Sunday. Now local authorities are also making plans to evacuate people from the area, but also give warnings to people relocating and getting far away from such-prone areas, especially if it's a lowland. And in the forecast that was given out does indicate that for the next couple of days Kentucky could be having more of these rains, so they have urged everyone to actually get out of the harm's way, as most of these events are expected to continue. But also there are still a lot of people missing. From the story that we're reading in the morning, hundreds are still missing, and they are presumed that probably they were swept away by some of these floods. And of course there is also recovery processes going on to ascertain the extent of damage, but we do know that most of the roads were swept away, bridges, and of course homes that were destroyed in Kentucky over that area. Talking about one of the worst they have also seen in eastern Kentucky for the last few decades. At least this is also getting into breaking records for the rains that they have been receiving over this time of the year. But still talking about extreme weather events, we also follow up on some of the wildfires that have been going on across Europe. Now what we do know is that these are continuing, and from what we are getting from Greece, it looks like this is wiping away one of Greece's major export products. We're talking about bees. Now wildfires in Greece are impacting not just the humans but the bees that make the pine honey a major export across Greece. Now as extreme weather rages, the country is increasing funding available to battle the flames, and of course they have gotten to an extent of bringing in firefighters from around Europe to help with the situation, because they're fearing that most of their bee keeping farms could actually be gone as wildfires have started approaching the area. And of course Greece is known for one of that as a major export, that is the pine honey. This is now being encroached on by these extreme weather events. And of course that also adds to the fact that they have been dealing with a heat wave over the area, and for a couple of days, for a couple of months now, and that is just going to be taking down on the economy of the country, as now they have to import more people to help with the fight, especially getting out those wildfires. And of course that is the one thing that has been affecting a lot of countries in Europe, especially talking about the heat wave and Greece. And of course most of these are breaking records. We haven't seen most of these in a long time. Talking about breaking records, also we follow up on the wildfires still that are coming in from England, still battling most of those. So England is actually saying they have recorded its driest, their driest July that was since 1935. That's the last time they had this kind of weather, but now that record has been broken, as we're seeing new records in terms of record-breaking heat waves. Now also they're saying as well as France, it's also given a record as of yesterday saying that they have recorded their driest July. That was since 1959, and this is the first time they're also looking at those records being broken. And of course England has so far gotten 35% of its average rainfall for the month. Now this could mean rainfall amounting to what could have been received within within just a week. But that's the total rainfall that was recorded in a month, and that just goes to show you how much they have been losing out, especially with reduced wet weather conditions over England. And of course they are also saying that looking at what they have in terms of average rainfall, this is giving into 17% of the average rainfall. That is according to the UK Meteorological Office coming through, but also giving more forecast of the heat wave and likelihood of more wildfires affecting the area. That is something that we're looking at. Now, when we're talking about extreme weather events, they're going to come in different categories. In the other country, you're dealing with floods, you're dealing with drought, there are others battling wildfires, there are others battling with heat waves. It's going to have to be a global kind of action. When we talk about most of these pacts that we have, Party 2, the Glasgow Pact, the Paris Agreement, this is all geared at making sure that everyone is able to act on climate change, because clearly we can see that we're all vulnerable and most of these extremes are just going to get bigger and bigger and across all the world. Now there is one interesting message that took my eye today going through social media, and this was posted on Twitter by Reuters, saying that we can still fix this. Now, we still have time to actually fix this. We just need to get rid of the fossil fuels. We just need to start planting more trees. We just need to put as much action as we can to make sure that we avert this climate crisis already. When we see some of the countries starting to declare it as an emergency, just last week, President Joe Biden of the USA was urging Congress to pass it as a climate emergency across the US. Now, this could be the extreme that most countries will be taking. We did see President Museveni also coming up to say, hey, this is what you have been doing to nature. And of course, now it is just, fighting back. So the better plan to do, the strategic plan to do, is to make sure we have enough action to combat this crisis already. But let's come back and take a look at the weather that's happening across the country for today, tapping in from our satellites. We follow up on that rainy system that is headed towards eastern Uganda. It looks like areas of the Elgon region could actually be dealing with more rains this morning. We're already seeing that cloudy system in colors of green and blue right there, headed towards areas of Umbale, Bududa. It looks like it will bring in a little bit of rains for this morning. Now, most of that is moving southwards. That's probably the good news, is that it won't be hitting as hard as this system is heading mostly southwards. But we already have those clouds over Umbale, over parts of the Elgon, Bududa. It's just cloudy. The system will be bringing in a little bit of spills of rainfall for this morning, but that system will be clearing as the day progresses. We also do expect more of the rains to come in later in the afternoon, but also that will not be as intense as the ones that we had. Also, we follow up on that rainy system that is starting to form across Lake Victoria. It looks like that will also be bringing us rains, especially to the western side of Lake Victoria. We're talking about areas of Masaka, also a little bit towards the central Lake Victoria basin, towards Kampala, where you see the orange, green, and blue colors right there. That's the rainy system that we're talking about, bringing already a few of those rains towards southwestern Uganda. Also across Kabale Highlands, that's the system that will be bringing us rains for this morning as well. But generally, the satellite does indicate mostly cloudy weather across the country, a little bit of mix of sunny conditions across Kampala, and a lot of most of the areas within the central, but mostly we are dealing with cloudy conditions. We'll go ahead and take a look at our forecast for this morning, and that is coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and also look at those numbers that we are expecting for today. But it looks like it's going to be cooler than what we were dealing with yesterday. We start off with the western side of Lake Victoria, which is where we have Masaka, Kalisi, Zosembabli, and Rakai. We're forecasting isolated showers. Those will be at a chilly 25 degrees centigrade. Now we look at southwestern Uganda, where we have Bushenyi, Rubirizi, Ibanda and Barara. We're forecasting those rains again, starting off with a beautiful 26 degrees centigrade. Most of those rains will continue into the afternoon. Across the Mount Elgon Highlands, which is where we have Mbale, Bududa, Buko, Sironko, like I mentioned earlier, we do have that cloudy system over the area that will be bringing in a little bit of rains across that region, starting off with a cool 25 degrees centigrade for this morning. Now, the eastern side of Lake Victoria, we are also forecasting those rains again. We already have cloudy systems developing over the area. Temperatures will be at a cool 25 as well. Now, the central part of northern Uganda, that is where we have Gulu. That is the eastern side of Uganda, where we have Soroti, Katakuya, Moria, and Kumi. We are forecasting sunny intervals, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade. Now, the eastern side of Central, where we have Ruwero, Woblenzi, Bururi, and Akaseke, we're forecasting isolated showers, also starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees. Across central northern Uganda, where we have Gulu, Kitgum, Badel, and Adjumani, we're forecasting sunny intervals, also starting off warm with 27, but we do expect more of the rainy conditions to develop later in the afternoon. Now, back in the central part of Lake Victoria, we do have Entebbe, Wakiso, Kampala, and Mukono, starting off with the quiet intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We do expect rains to come in as we cross over into the afternoon. Also, temperatures will be at a cool 25 degrees centigrade. Now, much of the southern sector this morning is dealing with most of those cloudy conditions. We do expect some of the rains to come through later in the afternoon. Well, but that is it in terms of weather for now. We do have Good Morning Uganda agenda coming up, where we'll be talking more about what is happening in the country. Of course, with the forecast system, are these events even linked to climate change? That is more that you can look out for in the Good Morning Uganda agenda. Later than that, we'll also be diving into sports highlights, and of course, after that, we'll also be looking at Good Morning Uganda Extra. My name is Mollen, Kenyena, wishing you a good day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
The Corporate Games Season 2022-2023 is here. Don't miss lots of fun and networking. 12 sports disciplines and over 2,000 participants with over 40 corporate companies in one place. This happens every first Sunday of every month. For more information, contact info@corporategamesug.com or visit our website www.corporategamesug.com, or you can call us on 0700 339 048 or 0785 642 953. Don't miss on Sunday, 7th August of 2022 at Chambogo University. The Corporate Games, inspiring corporates through sports.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Are you feeling stressed? Have you been working too much? Maybe what you need is some R&R.
I just can't get away from technology or work. I don't know what else I can do.
OMG, you are so right. IMO, you need some R&R. You should book a room at a B&B. And if anyone texts you, tell them you'll BRB.
People don't actually talk like that.
R&R is short for rest and relaxation. But we often just say R&R. This is an example of a shortened phrase that you will see in writing and hear in everyday conversation. That is not the case for some of the other things Anna said. And that's English in a Minute.
Get connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone and enjoy free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 Uganda shillings. That's free 2 GB for the first month and free 1 GB for the next 11 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings with free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 shillings only. Airtel, the smartphone network.
I remember the lockdown
when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it, made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Was brought to you by simply make a small deposit of 99k and pay the balance mpola. You can pay in daily, weekly or even monthly installments while you enjoy your new phone. So what are you doing today? Visit any MTN shop near you and get the MTN cupboard. That's super easy.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Agenda on UBC TV in Good Morning Uganda. Now in this particular segment, in case you've just joined, we usually have guests in studios with whom we discuss relevant topical issues. And this morning we are going to be discussing the impact of climate change. Now we know that so much is happening all over the world. When you look at what is happening in the United States of America, in one of the states, when we come back home, what is happening in Bali, almost every continent is having a problem as a result of not conserving our environment very well. That is climate change. And this morning, I'm humbled and honored to have the right people that are meant to tell us what is going to be happening. And we have to act according to their information. These are officials from Uganda National Meteorological Authority, UNMA. And my immediate side, I have Kalema Abaka, a senior meteorologist. You're most welcome, Abaka.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, Uganda.
And then the extreme end, I have Omonyi William George, Manager Forecasting Services. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you for hosting us, UBC. You're welcome to the show.
Well, I'll begin on a bit hard bit of it, and that is coming back home. And William George, you are the manager that is forecasting. Now, many times we've had these floods in our country. Many times we've had landslides. And the question has always been, did we receive warnings? Did you people forecast right? Did you give us relevant information? For this particular case in Mbale, did you?
Thank you, moderator. Thank you, the viewers. Uganda National Meteorological Authority mandate is to issue this early warning information related to weather. The current, what had happened recently, the flood in Mbale, for us, we already issued that early warning information in times, and we already observed that in 2 days, because we have given a 2 days forecast, that forecast clearly indicated that there is going to be extreme rainfall in the eastern part of Uganda, particularly in Mbale area, that is the mountain region. Even we gave the 10 days forecast for at the end of last month, looking at what the first day of August up to the 10 days of August. All points toward a lot of rainfall in the eastern part of the country and northern.
Very interesting. Now, this brings me to ask Abubakar, when you issue these warnings, how do they get to the ordinary person? Because it's different giving them to government officials, but this information, much as it has an impact to government, where is the local community, the local person? How do they get to receive this information? Maybe if they can, to move away from such areas.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator. You know, when Uganda National Meteorological Authority generates this information, we always give this information through our mainstream media houses, and UBC is one of the media houses that we always give this information to ensure that it reaches out to the ordinary people. But before that, whenever we wish out, like Manager George has talked about, the early warning information that we issue out, like seasonal forecast, when we've generated them, we bring different stakeholders together to develop advisories with other experts from different institutions. And after getting this information, we give out to different media houses. And then from there, we also run to different local FM radios where we present this information to ensure that it reaches out to the local people. But we also have like a phone, like it's a USSD code that you can use and access this early warning information, and which is *255 *85 hash. And when you get there, you can you'll be prompted to get to the early warning information that you may be in need of.
Please, for the interest of my viewer, repeat that code.
Yes, it is *255 *85 hash. It's the code that you can use using even use this usual phone, the Mapesa phone. You can just press that code and have access to our early warning information. That is seasonal forecast, monthly updates, daily forecasts, and 6-hourly forecasts.
Well, I hope Ugandans now, you can even know when you're going to move simply by using your phone, so you get to know what the weather is going to be. But this brings me back to William. William, going back to the current situation, we have seen over 20 lives lost, and we believe though processes are going on to retrieve bodies and get actual statistics, we are reliably informed that it is threatening to rain again this particular area. From your own point of assessment, what are some of the causes away from the overflow in case that could be leading to this situation?
Thank you, the moderator. I want to bring it very clear to the viewers and the country at large. There are 3 factors which really amplify this kind of events. Number 1, Mbale area in particular and the mountain area, Mount Elgon region, had been getting rainfall during the prolonged dry spell, which started around June, coming up to the month of of July. So that area had been receiving rainfall. Why? Because the mountain had a local influence of generating the rainfall. So it had been getting, yet most part of the country had been going through a dry spell. That implies the soil was already wet. That is one factor. Factor 2, look at the topography. When I talk about the topography, because mountain region, then how it sloped going to the downer side, like Bukedia, you're going to Diza, Butaleja. So there is that slope. The moment heavy rainfall comes, then it will accelerate the flow velocity of the water. That is factor number 2. Factor number 3, which spark of everything, last in 2 days ago event, the heavy rainfall, intense and over a long hours, because the rain started at around 10 p.m. Then it went on up to around the following day up to 11 a.m. Now looking at that intense, heavy, long hours, coupled with the already wet soil which had been due to the rainfall which had been on and off in Bale area, meaning there is little sinking of the rain in the soil. So the heavy rainfall which has poured on that particular day, automatically it has to get its way through. Now to get its way through, now it will be now accelerated by the slope of the topographical pattern of the place, because heavy rainfall was on the mountain top. Going down, meaning the flow velocity of the water will be very strong. So those are the three factors which really gave rise to this particular event in Bali.
Now I see why His Excellency talks about scientists. This is not politicking, these are scientifically proven reasons, major three areas, reasons why we're in such a situation. Abaka, this brings me now to ask ourselves, you give us the warnings, when these disasters strike, you know the causes of these disasters, but let's look at what can be done. Because I know climate scientists, two things you look at. We may not remove the problem, but we can learn how to better live with the problem. Or we can have a permanent solution to stop the problem. So how can we juggle around? Because you're not going to shift the mountain. Therefore, when Mother Nature speaks and the rain will be still pouring, so what happens then?
Yes, thank you very much. When it comes to the disasters, our government, really, we appreciate it, has invested in the climate services, the early warning systems, but we wish that we really need to have more investment in this area so that we can really improve the accuracy and the reliability of this early warning information and making it very timely. So by this, so what we need is, first of all, having this early warning information at a timely manner, coming in, you know, and reaching out to even the farmer, you know, the last mile, that is the farmer. And then from there, you know, how we can, once, you know, in Uganda we have that saying that Echijomanyi, you know, Chinyaga bitono. So I think when we get to know, this one helps us to prepare, and that is what we refer to as disaster preparedness. So, and there is a definition that that says that a dollar invested in preparedness, it saves about $10 in response. So, so once we have a very robust early warning system, you know, that reaches out information and timely, so we can save a lot of lives. And leave alone that, so when it comes to the long-term kind of, of trying to reduce on the impact, we think that we really need to evacuate the wetlands. We know there has been a lot of construction. Many people are really doing a lot of cultivation or agricultural activities within the wetlands. So we need really to bring back these ecosystems, you know, back to normal, the natural balance. And we think by that it will really help that this water that would really bring about floods, or maybe even the, you know, landslides in mountainous areas. We think when those areas are left really to be in their natural state, we feel like it will really improve and it can help, you know, save a lot of lives. And we really need to work together, all institutions, in really trying to bring down the disaster. We need a multi-sectoral approach when it comes to disaster management, and this is the best way. And also currently, the entire globe, or there is this new term being used, the anticipatory action. So wherever we produce this early warning information, the forecasts, and we inform people that we're going to experience this kind of weather, or this, we're going to receive a lot of rainfall, maybe, let's talk of about maybe 800 millimeters, and it will be a lot, and it will be within this period of time. So this one can help us to inform people, and different institutions and ministries and experts, they develop advisories, and the government can take it from there, and other donors in putting money in coming up with actions before these disasters comes in. This is what they are currently referring to as anticipatory action. I think through that approach, it is the best that can help really save a lot of life and property.
William, when you talk about anticipatory action, if I've gotten the term right, to what extent have our government and the people responded towards this?
Thank you. Looking at the action which we normally, because for us we work in collaboration with so many sectors, then to put it into a serious action, it needs the interest, and you need to put the resources. Well, the government has done a lot, giving resources, but of course when it comes to this early warning information, sometimes demand keeps on arising. Then two, stakeholders engagement, because some of the stakeholders, they don't find that it is really so much interested for them to come into. This is the work of Uganda National Meteorological Authority. Yet, when we come to the issue of weather and climate information and early warning information, it is a multi-sectoral approach which should be developed. And that can only be done through proper coordination. So, still we are lacking some coordination, because we need to put a well streamlined coordination in place which can go direct to the end users. So if we can do that, but with other sectors, the NGOs, the government department, the ministries, the agencies, our work is perfect. So we are only having a very small gap, particularly at the grassroots, where acceptance of the information, so that they can put it into a useful information. That is where things are missing slightly. If we can bridge that particular gap, then at least we will be in the right direction.
While we are still discussing, that is, weather forecast and early warnings, where the Uganda National Meteorological Authority does its role every time to tell Ugandans that, well, this is the danger coming. And when they send us these warnings, all they want us is to be proactive. If it is vacating this place, let it be. If it is coming up with whatever plan, let it be. Like one said, $1 spent in preparation saves 10 that you'll be using in responding to a disaster. But also, let's understand this very well. Many people call this a disaster. Others saying because of UNMA's work, it's not a disaster. It's man-induced. Therefore, it's all about man being responsible enough. And we would call a disaster an earthquake, but we can't continue over and over saying we have floods or excessive rains. Let me get this from the scientific view of a scientist. Yes, Abaka.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator. Yes, it is true. There are these, disasters always coming in, and whenever they come, we see lives being lost. For disasters, they always start with hazards. When we have these climate extremes, that is too much rainfall, when you have lightning, when you have hailstorms. So all of these, they are referred to as hazards. But now when these hazards, they become, when they get to that negative impact to humanity, like losing lives, losing property, then it degenerates into a disaster. So really, these have been rampant, and it has been really happening in our country. So we really think that we really need to work together to ensure that early warning is really given a priority. In whichever investments that are taken up by any investor or even government, let's ensure that even when we have these projects, different projects that are for climate resilience, we have a lot in the country. When you talk of Karamoja, there are a lot of resilience projects going on the entire country. So let's ensure that whichever project there is a percentage on early warning, enhancement, and strengthening these systems to ensure that at least we have this information on timely. And it will be from that point that once we have very reliable and a robust, early warning system, that trickles down from, because it has also stages. It starts all the way from monitoring. Monitoring, this is where we have different equipment, and that is stations across different parts of the country. And then from there, then it gets into the quality control, where we have to control that data that we've collected from monitoring equipment, and then from there we do analysis, and then we do prediction using the climate models. And those predictions now, from after generating the predictions, we come up with those forecasts, and then from that point we need to reach this information to the last mile, who is the farmer. So I think once we have this whole value chain, you know, being developed and strengthened, it's the best way, or it's the best approach we can use to really try to avoid hazards degenerating into disasters.
Well, William, this brings me to a term that I think in this decade has become so common. However, to many people, they still believe, maybe sometimes scientists are not really telling us the truth. You tell a person, well, leave the mountaintops. They'll tell you, we were born here. Our parents gave birth to us here. We've lived here for the last 10 years. Cultivating, why are you telling me to vacate now? And you tell them climate change. Help us explain more of climate change and why now, many of you actually, people are now referring to themselves as climate change advocates. You know, every summits, climate change. What is climate change, and why should people now begin adjusting and doing things away from how they used to do them?
Thank you. I always like when they talk about the climate change, because it is impacting all sectors of the economy. When we look at the climate itself, we need to know that there are two areas of concern. Number one concern is the climate change itself. Number two is the climate variability. So those two, they are different, and people normally cannot really distinguish between the two. But when we talk of the climate change, we look at the long-term change in the climate system. How things had been in the past, like 30 years ago, and how is it right now. So if you go to our elders, they can tell you a lot about that. Then when we come to the variability itself, the variability is within the shorter period of time. It can happen this year, then next year again it will happen. Or it might do the reverse. So those one comes as a result of variability. So looking at this particular event which has happened, climate change impact is touching all sectors of the economy, and it is coming in different kind of signs and phenomena. I want to state it very clearly that what we are seeing right now, not only this particular flood which is happening in Mbale, even the dry spell, the prolonged dry spell, the drought which is happening in the country, all those are coming as a result of climate change influence and the variability. So it had been happening, but how is it right now? We can now talk about the frequency of happening. In the past, they were happening, but it can happen like this year, then it takes like 10 years, then it happens again. But nowadays, the frequency has gone high. That is where now we take it to the influence of climate change. So when you look at the Mbale areas, every year almost there is a mudslide, there is a landslide, there is a flood. It had been happening many years ago, but it was not so frequent like nowadays. So we tag that one onto the climate change. And what brings this climate change? Of course, it is big. On a global aspect, developed countries, they're doing a lot of things. They're emitting a lot of toxic gases in the atmosphere, and that's one of the contributors of the climate change. Locally, in Uganda, Mbale in particularly, what are we doing that can contribute to this kind of, or the magnitude of that particular event? Number one, encroachment onto the wetland area. Number two, cutting trees. That is so deadly, because when you cut the trees, the soil becomes so loose, and the moment rain comes, this running water cannot be held up by the roots of the trees and the grasses. Automatically it has to get its way completely out. And we know very well the mountain has its own way of generating rainfall. Even if the rainfall comes, just the signal comes very slightly, but the influence of the mountain can influence it, make it so high. Meaning too much rainfall on top of the mountain can spark a serious disaster on the downer side. The moment we have cut the trees, we have encroached on the wetland area. So those are the kind of things which we can now say the climate is changing, it is bringing this kind of thing. But we human beings, we are also putting a lot of pressure on our natural, the natural forests, like the trees around, or the grasses, then the wetland. So the moment this disaster comes, if we could have not encroached on this, at least we could have minimized the impact of this. But our encroachment, we will amplify the magnitude of this event to a serious disaster.
Well said, and really this is very good information. Yes, these situations could have happened, but the magnitude or their impact would be reduced. Well, in the interest of time, Abaka, let me have your parting shot.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator. And I think as we can see this country, when you look at the climate currently or the weather, you can see the eastern Uganda experiencing a lot of rainfall and the northern Uganda as well. But our colleagues or the public or Ugandans in the western Uganda, you can see there's the other extreme of dry conditions where we're seeing even some water sources drying up. So this is really to mean that Uganda National Meteorological Authority has a very big task ahead, whereby we need really to look at all the contributing factor and analyze the system. And this is the time we really need to work tirelessly, to ensure that we serve this nation to our best. Thank you very much.
Well, many thanks. That is Abubakar Kalema, Senior Meteorologist, that is UNMA. Now let me have the final remarks from the Senior or Manager Forecasting Services.
Thank you. Viewers, one most important thing is because if we don't plan with the weather and climate information, then we are going to be caught off guard with this kind of events. Please, this product that we issue to the public, it is free of charge. We just want to reach you in whatever way possible. So let us work together, because when we collaborate, we will be in a position to minimize the effect of this climate change. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. And of course, our viewers, thank you so much for being part of this show. Well, all we want to tell you is let's take this information very seriously, because it's only this information that will help us avert such disasters. And there is a code wherever you are, even with a phone that's not a smartphone. All you need to know is just press or type, that is *255 *85#, and then you'll follow for you to know and get this information in time. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the world of sports. Good morning. Stay safe.
I remember the lockdown, when the streets were empty and our lives disrupted, when businesses closed and our livelihoods hung in the balance. Hospitals were full. We lost loved ones, jobs, and hope. Our children couldn't study anymore. We cannot let this happen again. We should not go back. Get fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and join the millions of Ugandans who are already vaccinated.
Get connected connected today with the My Airtel 4G smartphone and enjoy free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 Uganda shillings. That's free 2 GB for the first month and free 1 GB for the next 11 months at only 250,000 Uganda shillings with free data for 1 whole year worth 86,500 shillings, making the effective price of the 4G phone 163,500 shillings only. Airtel, the smartphone network.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources such as inspirational profiles.
Having a disability is not inability.
Professional guidance.
There is no special antiretroviral therapy that is given specifically for discordant couples.
And of course, politics.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for Anita Monga and Tayebo?
That is laughable. Why would we pay when we have nominated them as SEC?
The Sovereign Party has been represented in Uganda's parliament for 10 years. We only by one MP, you yourself and my daughter, Susan.
Every Friday 9 p.m. it's One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
We bring you a fresh, well-researched program to help you identify opportunities for investment, job creation, growing your entrepreneurial skills, wealth creation, and social transformation.
We have a product that is ready for schools, supermarkets.
Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Every week we showcase opportunities for creating new products and services.
I now harvest a lot of cocoa. When I harvest it, I sell. After selling, I put money in my project. I have 2 projects. 1 is for construction of my house, 2 is for educating my children.
Excellence in innovation, the passion and drive to succeed, and the right mindset to grow your business. Create wealth, transform livelihoods. Brought to you by Operation Wealth Creation.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it? Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next. Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Interesting, when I was watching the ad, One-on-One, Jordan and Ken Lochamzi,